Evelyn was determined to leave everything behind, that house, that neighbourhood, and the painful memories that kept her trapped. A family had already shown interest in renting the property, and she was ready to go. But just as she was preparing to leave, her neighbour appeared at her door with a disturbing warning. "You can't leave and just abandon this." Hello, my friends. I am Linda, and this is Linda's Love Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. Evelyn had always been a woman of routine. Every morning she woke up at 6 o'clock sharp, prepared breakfast for herself and James, her husband, and then sat on the porch to enjoy the sunrise. It was at this moment that she usually saw Addison, her neighbour and best friend, heading out for her morning walk. The two families, Evelyn and James on one side, Addison and Rogers on the other, were more than neighbours. They had been inseparable friends for years. Their children grew up together, playing in the backyards connected by a low fence that served more as decoration than as a divider. Sunday barbecues were sacred, with the children running and laughing while the adults chatted animatedly around the grill. James and Rogers made quite the pair when it came to small household repairs. Whether it was fixing a leaky roof, mowing overgrown grass, or installing a new alarm system, one was always ready to help the other. Evelyn smiled, recalling the countless times the two spent hours discussing the best angle to cut a board or the ideal tool for a particular job. The memories were like a movie constantly playing in Evelyn's mind. She remembered the shared birthdays, the holiday parties where the two families would gather, the tears of pride shed together when their children left for university. It was a friendship that transcended time and circumstances. However, life does not always follow the script we desire. Addison's diagnosis dropped like a bomb on both families, a cruel and relentless disease that gradually robbed her dear friend of vitality. During the years of struggle, Evelyn stood by Addison's side at every medical appointment, every treatment session, every moment of despair and hope. When Rogers couldn't be present due to work, it was Evelyn who held Addison's hand during the long hours of treatment. She was the one who listened to the whispered fears when the fear of passing seemed more real. The friendship between the two women, already strong before, transformed into something almost sacred during this period. The day Addison departed was the day a part of Evelyn also left. The funeral was a blur of sad faces and words of comfort that seemed hollow in the face of the magnitude of the loss. Rogers was devastated, a man broken by the pain of losing his life companion. In the months that followed, Evelyn and James became Rogers' safe harbour. The shared meals, the long conversations at night, the shoulder always available for the tears that seemed never ending. Slowly, very slowly, Rogers began to find a new balance in his life. Life went on. The children, already adults, visited when they could, bringing joy and the promise that life continues. James and Evelyn enjoyed their retirement, planning small trips and enjoying each other's company. Then, on an apparently ordinary day, the unthinkable happened. James, always so strong and full of life, succumbed to a sudden heart attack. It was quick, the doctor said. He didn't suffer. But for Evelyn, the suffering was just beginning. Evelyn's world crumbled. The house that was once full of laughter and plans for the future became a silent place, populated only by memories. Every corner, every object seemed to scream James's absence. The nights were the worst, the empty side of the bed a constant reminder of her loss. It was at that moment that Rogers stepped in, reciprocating the support he had received years earlier. He showed up every morning with a gentle smile and a cup of coffee. Gradually, they established a new routine. Walks around the neighbourhood, taking Evelyn's old Labrador for a stroll. Rogers, who had always been an excellent cook, began bringing dishes for Evelyn to try, insisting that she needed to eat well. As the years went by, Rogers' constant presence brought a new rhythm to Evelyn's life. Conversations, once centred on memories of lost loved ones, began to include other topics. They discovered shared interests they had never explored before, such as a love for old movies and a passion for gardening. During one of her regular visits, Evelyn's eldest daughter, Sarah, observed the interaction between her mother and Rogers. There was something different, a lightness that she hadn't seen on Evelyn's face in a long time. In a moment alone with her mother, Sarah dared to ask if there was something more going on between the two. Evelyn's reaction was immediate and defensive. "How can you think such a thing? Addison was my best friend, and it's only been 2 years since your father left us," she exclaimed, visibly upset. Sarah, surprised by her mother's agitated reaction, tried to calm her. "There's no need to get nervous, Mum. You are still young and have your whole life ahead of you. There's nothing wrong with seeking love again." Sarah's words echoed in Evelyn's mind for days. She found herself observing Rogers with new eyes, noticing details that had previously gone unnoticed. The gentle smile, the way his eyes lit up when he talked about his children, the dedication with which he tended his garden. One sunny afternoon, about 2 years after James's departure, Rogers appeared with a new recipe he wanted to try out. Evelyn invited him to use her kitchen, something that had become common between them. As they prepared the ingredients side by side, their hands accidentally touched when they reached for the same utensil. It was a brief touch. Rogers paused, his gaze meeting Evelyn's. There was something different there, an intensity that hadn't been present before. With a husky voice, Rogers finally verbalized what he had been feeling for some time. "Evelyn, I need to tell you something. In the past few months, I've been feeling differently about you. I think I've fallen in love." Roger's words hit Evelyn like a lightning bolt. Her first instinct was panic. "This can't happen, Rogers. Addison was my best friend. What would our children say? No, this is wrong." Rogers, noticing the whirlwind of emotions in Evelyn's eyes, tried to calm her down. "Evelyn, I loved Addison with all my heart every moment we were together, but she is gone, just like James. We are alone now. There is nothing wrong with seeking comfort and love in each other." But Evelyn was not ready to listen. With tears in her eyes, she asked Rogers to leave. Confused and hurt, he respected her wish and left. In the days that followed, Evelyn isolated herself. She didn't answer Rogers' calls and ignored the messages. Her mind was in constant conflict. On one hand, she couldn't deny that Rogers had become an important part of her life, bringing light and joy to her days. On the other hand, she felt guilty, as if she were betraying James's memory and her friendship with Addison. One morning, upon opening the door, Evelyn found a homemade cake left by Rogers, accompanied by a note apologising if he had crossed any boundaries. The gesture, so typical of Rogers, touched her heart. But instead of bringing her back, it solidified a decision that had been taking shape in her mind. She needed to distance herself. That same afternoon, Evelyn called a real estate agency. She decided to put the house up for rent and move away, perhaps near one of her children. It was the only way to escape these confusing feelings and the guilt that consumed her. The next day, a "for rent" sign appeared on the well-kept lawn of Evelyn's house. Rogers watched with a heavy heart as an excited family left the house after a visit, accompanied by a smiling realtor. The reality of the situation hit him with full force. He was about to lose not only his neighbour and friend, but also the woman he had fallen in love with. Determined not to let Evelyn leave without at least trying one last time, Rogers devised a plan. That afternoon he dressed in his best suit, combed his hair with gel, and bought the most beautiful bouquet of flowers he could find. When Evelyn's doorbell rang, she did not expect to find Rogers on the other side of the door, much less dressed so elegantly and with flowers in his hands. Before she could say anything, Rogers spoke. "Evelyn, you can't leave and let this new chance for love slip away." Evelyn felt her heart race, but the voice of reason still prevailed. "Rogers, I am sorry, but I cannot. What would our children think of us?" It was at that moment that the unexpected happened. From behind Rogers came familiar smiles. Evelyn's 3 children, and Rogers' 2, all with expressions of approval and affection. "I talked to each one of them," Rogers explained, a smile lighting up his face. "And I have everyone's approval to invite you to dinner with me." Evelyn was speechless. She looked at her children, seeking confirmation, and found only encouraging smiles. Sarah, her eldest daughter, stepped forward and hugged her mother. "Mum, we just want to see you happy. Dad always said that life is to be lived to the fullest." Sarah's words broke the last barriers in Evelyn's heart. Tears of relief and happiness ran down her face as she looked at Rogers, seeing him not just as a longtime friend, but as a man offering a new chance for love and companionship. With a shy smile, Evelyn accepted the invitation to dinner. That moment marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. A relationship born from friendship, forged by shared adversity and nurtured by respect and understanding. In the months that followed, Evelyn and Rogers discovered a new form of happiness. They travelled together, shared moments with their children, and created new memories while honouring the old ones. Their afternoons were filled with deep conversations, light laughter, and the silent comfort of each other's company. The "For Rent" sign was removed from Evelyn's lawn, and the house that once seemed so empty suddenly overflowed with life again. Family gatherings now included an extended family, united not just by blood, but by love and choice. Evelyn and Rogers proved that the heart has an infinite capacity to love, that it is possible to honour the past while embracing the future. That love is a precious gift that deserves to be celebrated, no matter at what stage of life it flourishes. Their story became a living lesson that life can surprise us with new opportunities for happiness, even after great losses. And that, sometimes, a deep and true love can be born from a lasting friendship at the most unexpected moment. If you enjoyed, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment with a number from 1 to 5 to let us know how much you liked the story. Also, watch the video that is currently on your screen. See you soon.